think that is everything we need to get started there. Hello, EnviroBoy. This is my channel. Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday. It's a happy Monday for me. It's President's Day, which is, there's historical meaning behind President's Day, but ultimately it just means that it's a day off for those of us who follow all of the government holidays. So I got a day off from my day job, which is pretty sweet. Don't gotta worry about the phone ringing or anything like that, and that's always nice. Hopefully others out there are enjoying a good day, even if it's not for the same reasons. Ah boy, it's always nice on Mondays to be back sitting here getting ready to do some streaming and everything. Yeah, it's a good place to be, that's for sure. That is for sure. Let me see here. I think I've got all of the stuff that we need here. I think we got everything that we're looking to try and have ready to go here. So, I don't know, let's go ahead and switch this over to our main scene maybe, and we can go ahead and just get started, because today I'm hoping today that we can get enough steam going to finish off this project we've been working, or at least this chapter of the project that we've been working on for quite some time. This particular chapter of the campaign. We've been at it for a minute or two, but I think we're at a point where we can probably finish it up today, so long as I can, do what I'm never able to do and stay kind of focused and actually get stuff going here. So I think the first step of that is to actually get going on it. I'm gonna do what I always do, just for the sake of the VOD. And if there is anyone out there this early on, just kind of as a warm-up to get our heads in the right place, we'll go ahead and just do a quick recap of everything that we've been working on and sort of a quick description of what our world is and everything like that. So then we can cruise into actually working on some stuff. So we're working on a campaign that'll take it's designed to take roughly 5 players from level 1 to level 10. And it all takes place within my homebrew world, but the campaign itself is pretty self-contained. The idea being that anyone could take this and kind of put it into their setting without it being all that disruptive, and with the only requirement being, maybe changing a little bit of the background history as to why things are the way they are, and so that it fits whatever setting you're using. But in general, it's it takes place in in design, it takes place in my my homebrew world. This world that we're looking at right now, that's what's on the screen here, this map. It's my world of Zaoria, and it's a post-apocalyptic fantasy type of world, where it is a world where there was a cataclysmic event in which just kind of rips and tears in reality were suddenly and all at once torn open between the mortal realm and the ethereal planes and the elemental planes and all that kind of stuff. Like, basically just all the different planes of existence got muddled and intermingled. And as a result, all kinds of magical radiation kind of caused a lot of horrible changes, as well as the displacement of a lot of beings. Ethereal beings were forced into the elemental planes, and elementals were forced into the mortal plane, and just any kind of intermixing you can imagine sort of took place and resulted in this sort of crazy, chaotic world that we have here. And so that's kind of the premise of this world, and the campaign that we're working on takes place within just this particular hex right here. It gives us a lot of different environments to look at, so I figured it'd be a fun one to write a campaign for. And we can pull up our region map here. So this is the map of the area that they're in. The basic opening premise is that our players are part of a collective that's trying to identify and create a new trade route that goes through the wilds here, this really dangerous part of the world, to try and connect a couple cities that have previously not really been connected, to try and improve trade routes and communication and all that kind of stuff, as an attempt to recover, after a couple thousand years after all of this insanity broke loose. So our players are part of that effort, but they unwittingly kind of start working their way through territory that is the domain or the dominion of a dragon. The dragon's not too thrilled about this, comes down, confronts them. After a little bit of talking, there's a deal struck in which the dragon says, hey, you know, I am trying to get into this Hall of Wisdom here. It's kind of locked up with magic and keys. If you can get the keys to help me into there, then I will let you build your trade route and we'll call it good. So our players, we're assuming, will accept the call to adventure and go about that. The first step is them coming up into the giant areas up here. The territory of the giants is maybe a better way to phrase that, because giant areas just kind of sounds like it's a really big area. Which it is. I mean, it's mountaintops, but anyway. They go into the giants, the territory of the giants, find the first key, go back, get clues that lead them down to the abandoned dwarven city of Kagdaral down here. They go down there sort of with the intent of finding the key, and they end up finding also a community of Duragar that have taken over the city. So they have fun navigating that, make their way through the dwarven tunnels to get to the dwarven vaults, which is where the key is held. And at the point that we're at in the writing process, they have found the key, but in doing so, there was a trap set in that vault that caused the tunnels to collapse, so they couldn't just tunnel their way back. Fortunately for them, and intentionally designed by us, there's an escape route up to the surface that opens up throughout all of this, so that they can make their way up here into this part of the map that we are, or this part of the region that we are kind of finishing up right now, where they find their way into a forested area that just by pure random happenstance, because I thought it sounded funny, and I'm sticking to it. They so dumb, such a dumb reason to write something. Like, why'd you decide to do it this way? I don't know. I thought it sounded funny. All right, but I went with it. They find themselves in the middle of a war that's going on between a colony of ogres and a King Kong-like giant ape. And they can sort of do with that what they will. If they want to just try and avoid all of that, they're welcome to. If they want to join in on the monster hunt, then great. If they make the ogres mad and the ogres decide they want to hunt them too, then that's something they'll have to deal with. I don't know. I didn't really have a whole lot in mind with this. It was mostly just we'll throw a curveball, so that way it's not all just in the tunnels for an entire chapter, and this seemed like an amusing way to go about it. So that's what we're working on, and we've made enough progress that I am hoping we can finish up this chapter today. We have 5 rooms left in this area, and because we've already done all the foundational stuff for this chapter, really once we're done with these rooms, we're done with the chapter. So I'm hoping we can finish that today, so that way on Friday when we come back to doing a little bit of this campaign writing work, we can dive into chapter 6 and beyond, sort of the, at least as far as like chapter numbers go, the second half of this campaign. Chapters keep getting more in-depth and longer as our players are leveling up and being able to handle more and more stuff. So in terms of like actually how much stuff we have to write, I don't know that we're actually halfway through, but it's still a meaningful landmark, I think, to get to this point, and I'm excited to be here. And so I really want to try and keep myself focused today so I can get this done, because I've been seeing this end in sight of this chapter, and I'm stoked to do it, because I'm stoked about the other stuff that we have still to work on in this campaign. So maybe I should stop gabbing about it and just actually do it. So let's see here. That's for the other campaign I've been working on, the one that I run for my players here. So we'll hide all that stuff real fast and pull up what we're actually working on here today. So okay, so we got 6 rooms left. Hey True Blue, how's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you here on this momentum occasion of me actually finishing a significant landmark of my campaign that I'm working on here. Although the truly momentous thing will be if I can keep myself focused enough to actually get it done. Because y'all know me, I like to get gabbing about stuff. And it's I as a baseline, I don't mind it. It's fun to be interactive, and it makes streaming fun, and it makes it more interesting to watch and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of productivity, Boy, oh boy, it can be limiting. All right, let's see here. So we have in room 6 here, we're just gonna throw in an easy battle at our players. Oh, you've been watching the VODs on YouTube. See, I'm glad I put those up, because like I know there are a lot of people who are interested in like streams, but it can be hard to always watch them on like at the times when people go live. And then I also know that Twitch takes things down after a certain amount of time. You know, so like I know I don't watch many live streams. I watch VODs. Like my favorite streamers are the ones who put up their VODs so I can watch them, you know, in chunks when I've got time to kind of work my way through them all. So I'm really glad people are making use of those. I'm really, really happy about that, because I know like it's a helpful thing to me, and so I'm glad to know that other people are finding it useful. So awesome, glad to hear that. Really glad to hear that. That actually like really is encouraging to me. So I'm happy about that. Okay, so an easy battle here. Needs to be 900 experience points worth of battle. We've already done at least, yeah, we've already got 2 of ours. We did 2 of the cave bears, which are skinned as our big bad apes. And then we've got, and then our other easy battle, we did 5 of the half ogres. So I think what's going to be fun now, I think what's left then, is for us to do a twofer here, or a double up on those, right? So we've got 900 experience points to work with. We can throw in one of the apes, right? And then, like, if we do 1 ape and then 2 of the half ogres, that brings us to 850, which is just a little shy, but I'm not going to sweat being a little shy there. So that's how I want to do this. And what we can do, it'll be kind of fun, because we'll have this, we'll have the setup be players walk in and there's already a battle going, and they can kind of decide what they want to do. They can pick a side to try and earn allies, depending on if they want to do that, or they can do what my players always like to do whenever I throw them a setup, and which is why I have to limit how many times I give this to them. They like to just sit to the side and watch me fight myself, and basically just like play out the battle. And they're like, yeah, we'll just pick off whoever's left, and they like genuinely enjoy just sitting there rooting for a side. And it kind of cracks me up that they like doing that. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, whatever floats your boat. But we'll provide that for our hypothetical future players here. One, it's just going to be easier to copy and paste this. Who am I kidding? Copy that. Paste it. 1 cave bear skinned as an ape. That'll be 450 XP points. And then 2 of the, I guess they're technically the half ogres. And they're worth 200 XP. Although I'm just going to be calling them ogres just for the sake of the setting. It would be kind of weird for there to be half ogres without there being any explanation about why most of the colony is only half ogre when there are no not ogres present. So, you know, we do what we got to do. Sweet. Okay. So we'll go ahead and honestly, if they're in the middle of a battle, I'm not even going to require my players to have any sort of like perception checks or anything, right? Because like if people are just like fighting and shouting and yelling and there's an ape making all kinds of ape noises and stuff like that, like you're going to notice that before you enter the clearing. If you're in the big wide open woods, I mean, trees kind of muffle sound to a degree, but not that much. So I think what we can just do is as you're looking down the path, you start to hear strange sounds. Strange sounds that appear to be the sounds of fighting. Deep growls. Wow, that's deep growls. Deep growls and loud yelling echoes. There it is. Echoes through. That's a weird. Okay, hold on. Deep growls and loud yelling echoes. Yeah. Okay, I need to change growls. It needs to be deep growling, and loud yelling. Echo through. I think that's how I want to say it. I think that's the way to say it, right? I don't know. Whatever. We'll just go with it. I'm not publishing this today. There we go. Loud yelling echo through the trees as you make your way. Well, I guess we don't. Through the trees, and appear to be getting louder as you go. Eventually, you see in the distance an opening to another clearing, from which the sounds appear to be originating. Let's see, and then we'll just assume that they're gonna try and sneak their way up. And again, because our enemies are preoccupied with each other, I'm not inclined to make it so that they'll immediately drop everything and see players that they don't sneak in, right? I think unless our players go in with their own war cries, you know, axes raised, ready to kill everything, I don't think we need to worry about requiring any sort of checks or anything to sneak in or identify stuff. They can just kind of make it into there without really causing a ruckus, and everything else will just sort of stay preoccupied as they are. So we'll just say, as you near the clearing and peer through the trees, you see, you can see what appears to be a battle being waged between two ogres and an ape of large proportions. And honestly, we can just kind of leave it at that, right? Like, we just present that to them, and then it's like the next line is, okay, what do you do about it? And then again, our players can decide whether they're going to storm in like the psychos they always are, or if they're going to sit there and do like my players do and let them duke it out and call it good. Like, I think we can just kind of leave that one as is, and I think it's good to go there. So yeah, I think that's perfectly acceptable, exactly as it is. And now so now here's where things can get kind of fun. So up until now, the lore of this chapter has really been related to the origins of the Duergar, because they were kind of the featured people within this area. But having gone above ground, where the Duergar are kind of intentionally avoiding, right? They're trying to stay down below ground and really just kind of fly under the radar as they're trying to build up their own society. So there's not going to be much Duergar lore here. So what I kind of want to do is I kind of want to just add lore that's really about the origins of this like King Kong creature, and just like offer some fun little tidbits about like, hey, where'd this thing come from? So our players, like, there'll be nothing really functional about it. I think with one set of 10 rooms and just throwing in a couple blips of lore here and there's not enough space for us to really do anything big with it. So I kind of want to just give it to them and be like, yeah, no, here's what this thing is. Neat, huh? And just kind of leave it there. And so what I kind of want to do is, I'm just going to put a DM note here and say, DC, we'll say DC 12. I don't want this to be too hard. I want them to just kind of be able to gather this, and I don't think it's going to be that hard for them to gather this part. DC 12 to recognize that there is some sort of magic involved with the ape. And then what I might do is say DC 14 to recognize that this ape. And see, now I'm just kind of making stuff up off the cuff here, so I may so I may change this, but you know, it's like I always say, you just gotta kind of get stuff down and then you can edit it later all you want. Oh sweet, I'll have to check it out, Gabby. Thanks for posting there. Glad to know you're glad to hear you're enjoying the Discord there. I'm really glad that people are finding use and fun with that server. I think it's really neat there. Yeah, hopefully later today I can find some time to stop in and check it out. Let's see here, DC 14 to recognize that this ape is this ape has been strongly I have an idea about exactly what this is going to do. Has been strongly influenced by ethereal magic. An ethereal magic, though it is of mortal origins itself. Because my idea is then this bit of lore here, in here there's going to be one of those one of the rips in reality, like I always talk about, existing in this world, and it's like that is what's causing all these apes to grow to such massive proportions, is the fact that this terror is like impacting these forests, and our players can kind of do what they want with that. But we'll offer that stuff up there for our players to sort of investigate and identify, and we'll just maybe narrate it a little bit here and say, as you take a closer look at this massive ape, you get the sense that there is something very unnatural about it. Even the less inclined, well, I don't know, because we did put a DC 12, so I guess I shouldn't offer up that it's that it's been sort of like magically altered just off the cuff. That should be only if they get the successful roll there. Even it is as easy as it is. I don't want to assume that they'll get good rolls, because it certainly happens that you can have a very easy check and there will still be a certain degree of failure that'll happen. Like, that's the beauty of chance. That's why I love D&D. I love that it's all left up to chance. Yeah, so as you take a closer look at this massive ape, you get the sense that there's something very unnatural about it. Its size is unlike anything you've seen before or even heard about in legends of times before the unhinging. It would seem as though in the millennia, there it is, yeah, it would seem as though in the millennia since the unhinging occurred, the nature of the creatures in this forest has changed dramatically. And then we'll just go ahead and put actually, here's how we're going to organize this, just to make it clear. And then we'll do a DM note for it, and let's just say, yeah, there we go. If succeeding at the investigations, there it is. If succeeding at the investigations, read some or all of the following. There we go. And that way we can just kind of separate it here. And then we'll just add, there is definitely a sense of magic about this creature. So, are we getting raided? Oh goodness. Endless Prim is bringing people in. Welcome everybody. Welcome. Good timing. We're like just getting started. We're just revving up the engines today. Good timing. Glad to have everyone here. Everybody pile in. Find a proverbial seat and a metaphorical seat. I don't know. Well, it's not real, but you're all welcome. Pile in. We're working on. We're hoping to finish up. We've got a big campaign project that we've been working on for quite some time now, and we are almost done with sort of the 5th of 10 planned chapters for this campaign. So we're having some fun adding some details to our last bit of dungeon for this chapter. So everyone pile in and help me come up with all of the ways that we can have our players essentially fight King Kong. It's like the simplest, easiest way, uh, easiest way to describe what's going on here. Our players have stumbled upon a battle between ogres and King Kong, so so pile in and and have fun goofing off with this stuff. All right, let's see here. So, all right, we were gonna say there's definitely a sense of magic about this creature as you look at it more closely. You know what? There's one other thing I noticed though. This is irrelevant, but it's gonna bother me. I forgot to switch my my alerts from the one that I've been using or the one that I was using for gaming last week, and it doesn't match, and it doesn't matter, but it does matter. So I'm changing that back really quickly because it bothers me. It's it's not in it's not in Skull Island, but I'm okay. So anyone who doesn't know me and anyone who hasn't spent time DMing and world building in general, the number one tip for going through and handling writing something new, steal everything. Just like steal it from existing lore. Change little details enough that you can use the word homage instead of flat out copy or parody, and boom, you've got brilliant ideas right there. Case in point, look at like 70% of the movies that Hollywood is making nowadays. How many of them are reboots and retellings of the same freaking thing that's already been done a million times over? We are currently in the third iteration of Spider-Man in less than 20 years. Just copy everything. Yes, exactly. You got it exactly right. Hokage 8900. Wow, that's a lot. That's a big number. But yes, no, you got it. Just steal everything and change details. Just like that's the way to come up with good ideas without having to massage and work on said ideas for years and years, right? You just take the ideas, and I was like, hey, our players have been underground for a while. Let's throw them up in a forest so that they get fresh air for a little bit. What's kind of a fun battle? Let's just put a giant ape in there. What's a giant ape? It's King Kong. Boom, there we go. We got the idea. Now a lot of it, actually, truthfully, a lot of the reason we ended up going with the King Kong idea, the giant ape idea, is because based on the level our players are expected to be at this stage in the campaign, and knowing the setting that I wanted to do the setting just sort of like in the woods and just kind of have a generalized monster hunt, that narrowed down the existing creatures to just a couple things, and the one that I thought sounded the most fun was a giant ape. And so I was like, yeah, we'll just go ahead and do that. We'll just go for that and call it good. And that's what we're doing. And it's it's working. It's interesting enough, and it's it's a fun little monster hunt for our players. And yeah, that's but yeah, as you can see, that's how detailed I do stuff. Is King Kong a hand boss? I don't know. I'm trying to remember exactly. Okay, so it's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've played, like, because when I think of hand boss, with like I immediately think of Super Smash Brothers from 64. So like bosses where you attack the hands. Is that? Oh, I see. So you're going specifically a hand boss. I mean, I guess I would say I'm not requiring that for success, but if that's how our players want to approach it, I'll yes and that. If they want to be like, yeah, I'd like to chop off his hand so he can't punch us, I'll be like, that sounds rad. Let's see if you can get a natural 20 to call your shot, and go with it. I won't say no to that. It's not the intention, but hey, when you're playing D&D, what really does go with what you're intending, right? Like how often do things go as intended? Almost never. In the game that I'm running, I'm running a different campaign that I've written for the players that I'm running right now, and they're in the middle of a temple. Did I ever intend for them to plan to burn down the temple, even with all of the captives of the cult that runs the temple still in there? No, I did not intend for that to happen. Are they going to do it, and am I going to allow it? Of course I'll allow it. Of course I'll allow it because I think that's hilarious, and I also love the idea of dropping hints and guilt tripping them like nobody's business about the fact that they may burn down a temple with a whole bunch of innocent captives in it. So it's like, is that going according to plan? No, not in the slightest bit, but I am A-okay with that. That's like the beauty of D&D, is that it does not have to go according to plan. Like, that's the best part about it. You can just yes and your way through everything, and it's great. And it's great. So, okay, all right. Anyway, I should actually write this stuff. My goal setting out, I'm doing the thing that I said I was going to try to not do today, which is get distracted rambling out about other things that I love about D&D rather than actually finishing the project, because we've got after this room 4 more rooms we got to design, and then we're done with the chapter, and I wanted to finish it today. Gabby, that sounds delicious. Glad to know you're having a good time there. It does sound delicious. It's been a minute for me since I've had that myself, but well done. Okay, so there's definitely a sense of magic about this creature as you look at it more closely. It appears to be just like the apes that exist in this world and always had before the unhinging occurred, but something magical has influenced this creature, causing there we go, causing it to grow to bizarre. I can never spell bizarre. Why can't I spell bizarre? There it is. I always try to double up the Z. Causing to grow, causing it to grow to bizarre proportions. And that's not even actually King Kong himself. That's just one of King Kong's fellow apeman tribeman things. So yeah, there we go. So that's all that's going on, and that's in this region right here. There's not a whole lot of detail that we're adding here. So we're just gonna throw in a couple bushes for the sake of making things look a little interesting, and that'll work great. Boom, boom. Just always drop a couple. It's like you want things to be a little. You want to give stuff a little pizzazz, but there's just not. Not everything all at the same time. Not everything needs to be a particularly complex bit of map. Sometimes we can just have things be normal. So we'll do that. And we also need to add just the little lanterns that we've been using to add lighting for the sake of, actually having stuff be visible for players, which is, I've talked about it a lot, actually using the lighting tools provided in this system. I actually really like the idea of being strict with players regarding like night vision, like dark vision and line of sight and stuff like that. I'm actually a big fan of that. But most of my players are not. And so I have sort of accepted and compromised that I will provide them light, so that way they don't have to worry about navigating like dark vision and stuff like that. Because the idea is, like, while we're role playing, they do a really good job of managing their dark vision and stuff like that. But the flip side of it is like, once players understand that dark vision and distance of how far you can see in that stuff is a factor, they pretty much always just make sure someone has a torch and or a magical ability to provide light. So it's one of the first rules that becomes pretty irrelevant in just about every game I've ever run. I mean, if you wanted to get really into the nitty gritty, you could throw in rules about how long a torch lasts. And like the other thing too is a lot of times will, depending on the scenario, invoke a penalty about how well you can sneak through areas. But other than that, it does become pretty irrelevant pretty quickly. And the other thing that I will say in my players' defense is we play online using Foundry, and sometimes Foundry gets a little wonky with all of the lighting effects and stuff like that. Like, for the most part, it is pretty good, but sometimes you'll load up a token, like a player character token, and it'll just get the vision wrong. It'll just make it really weird. It'll set their visions in any lighting to 0, so they can't see anything unless it's right next to them, and it just gets weird. So in their defense, it is much easier to do that. But so and the reason I'm saying that is because people might be wondering, like, oh, if this is just supposed to be in the woods, why are there torches and lanterns all over the place? Like, well, within the lore there aren't, but within the world of map design and pleasing my players to make sure the game is fun for them as well as for me, there's light everywhere. and that's just the way it is. So that's what's the deal with that is, you know, because nobody asked and I just insisted upon over explaining everything. We'll save our progress, and great. I mean, that's kind of all we need. I think that's kind of all we need. Hey, thank you for the follow, ADM. Is there a way to pronounce that? I don't know. I always feel so disrespectful when I try to pronounce people's like screen names and I don't know how to do it. But I appreciate the follow. I got it. All right, sweet. It's a good day. It's a good day. No, I appreciate the follow. I'm glad you're having a good time here. So okay, so we've got that one. So now room number 7, having a medium battle here. So this is going to be fun to write the lore for, and this is where we're going to actually really throw in some interesting lore related to my homebrew world that we have here. And that'll be like I was saying at the beginning, this section, because it's such a strange, out of the blue, isolated section of like wandering through woods, it's really unrelated to anything else going in the campaign. There's not a whole lot of like functionality to the lore. It's just much more like, hey, isn't this neat for our players? But at the same time, I think that type of stuff is really good to throw at players because that's what helps build immersion. So, and I've got an idea for the lore in this room, and I think it'll be great. It's right. I can be proud of myself for today. And you know what? We all. I feel like we all deserve to have a reason to be proud of ourselves every day. If you can find one reason to be proud of yourself, then it's a good day. It's kind of like I always say, if I learned something today, it's a good day, right? So it's like always try to learn something, even if learning that thing is like, okay, so it turns out that I'm not good at cooking this dish. I will know next time that I need dinner to not cook this, and I will be less sad. Like, that still counts as learning something. So no, it's a good day. It's a good day. All right, we need to do a medium battle. And based on what we've already kind of predetermined here, our medium battles are going to be worth 1,800 experience points. I kind of just want to throw 4 of the apes. Okay, so here's like pulling back the curtain. I'm using the stat blocks for cave bears, but calling them apes because functionally it's like, oh yeah, they bite and they scratch their enemies. That's perfect. They're big, beefy things that have like a large size and a lot of mass behind them. Apes and bears, that describes both of them. So we'll just call them apes and save ourselves the trouble of having to invent a creature at the right challenge rating that we need for this area. So again, like stealing things and changing details. It's like the perfect DMing and the perfect writing technique right there. If you haven't mastered that technique, I highly recommend mastering it for your own DMing purposes. Because it is a time and energy saver. All right, so I want to do 4 apes here. I just want to make sure that I haven't already done that somewhere. No, we haven't. This is our first medium battle. I try to make sure that all of the battles within a single dungeon aren't all the same exact composition. It's more fun if each one is a slightly more unique puzzle, right? So it's like if all of them are the same composition of enemies, it all gets very samey. But if we kind of mix it up and be like, but there are fewer enemies this time around, or like there are fewer of this kind and more of this kind this time around, it kind of keeps things a bit more fresh for our players. So luckily we have not already done 4 apes in a single battle at our players, so we can do that this time, and then we'll have to figure out what we're going to do for our other medium battle. But I have an idea for that one as well. I think if I'm remembering the layout of my dungeon here, well, so I'm looking at it. I might swap room 6 and 9. I might swap what we're doing for room 6 and 9, but we'll handle that when we get there. One thing at a time. One thing at a time. We're working on room 7 right now, so one thing at a time. We don't need to overextend ourselves here, because we already know what we want to do here. So let's get that down before we forget about it. 4 of the. We'll just copy and paste this because it's quicker and easier that way. Copy and paste. 4 cave bears. So that's our little thing. And so what I want to do here is, we'll just sort of describe. I am going to put a DM note. I don't always do this, like I was talking about for the last room. Last room doesn't really require a whole lot of rolls for sneaking up because there's enemies already fighting each other. They're pretty well distracted, so that's a situation where I wouldn't really require my players to do any like sort of special rolling, as long as they're like, yeah, we're gonna try and sneak up. It's like, honestly, if you're in the woods and there's like creatures fighting and yelling at each other, it doesn't take that much work to just sort of like not go in there screaming yourself and be able to just kind of watch from behind a tree without being noticed. Like, that's pretty easy. But in this situation, I want to make it a bit more challenging, so I'm going to put a DM note here and say DC, let's make it a DC 12, because I'm going to have the apes be at ease, but undistracted by other things. So it's like, I don't want it to be too hard, but it's certainly possible in this situation for someone to step on a twig and snap it and alert them that there's something else in the woods, right? So this is kind of a middling situation. DC 12 to approach the clearing without being noticed. And I never say exactly what type of roll. I mean, in this situation, it's pretty well implied that it's going to be a stealth check, but I don't like to explicitly state that, just because I don't like being in a situation where I am at a loss about how to accept if players are coming up with something else, right? If they come up with some other approach to things, then I kind of want to just stick with the idea of like, here's where the difficulty is to pull off whatever they're trying to pull off, and if they want to mix and match it, they can. So in this situation, it's pretty much going to be stealth, but it doesn't have to be. What level players? This chapter is intended to have our players somewhere around level 5. Depending on what they have done and how thorough they've been about going about things, they may still be level 4. They may already be up at level 6. But it's kind of, I'm balancing it around level 5. So a 12 is going to be pretty easy. But since everything is, yeah, exactly, it should be easy-ish. Like, there's no reason for them to not get 12 other than bad luck. And I think that kind of makes sense when we're talking about how easy/difficult I want sneaking up on these things, because it's like, as long as you're paying attention, it should be pretty easy to sneak up on things that aren't actively looking for you while you're in the woods. But then again, sometimes luck gets in the way, and it's like, sometimes, maybe a bird notices you and starts like, cussing up a storm at you or something, or maybe you step on a twig or something like that, or there's like a rabbit that's hiding and you accidentally step too close to its nest and it like bursts out and like attracts everyone's attention, right? So I think that fits pretty well for what I'm trying to achieve. And the other thing about it too is it is a game, so even if I'm way wrong, it's like, yeah, all right, next time I'll make it easier or harder if I need to. Call it good. I try to not sweat it too much, because ultimately the real mission is to just the real mission is the fun we had all along. All right, so DC 12 to approach the killing without being noticed. And so we'll just add a generic description here. We don't need to get too in the weeds about a different description for if they fail or succeed. I'm gonna hold on a second. I'm just gonna do that. Give us a little bit more space so you guys can see. I was just kind of noticing. I usually try to remember to close down the navigation panes when we're not actually navigating anything. It's one of those things where probably no one else cares about it, just me. But it bothers me, so. I throw a rock opposite of the location. Honestly, see, and that's the type of thing, like, honestly, that's the type of thing where I always say DC 12 rather than DC 12 stealth, right? Because it's like, hell, if they want to do that and cause a distraction, and he succeeds at just like a generalized strength or dexterity or whatever to throw a rock and aim it well, then like, screw it, that's clever. I'll accept that. That sounds awesome. They can do that and then like charge out from behind or something. It's like, yeah, why not? Why not? That's the beauty. That's the beauty of D&D, right? Because you can really just, yes and your way through these ideas. If you want strict, it has to be done this way, that's where video games come in, right? Because they're only programmed to allow for so many options. The rules only permit so many different creative things that you can try. But, doing D&D is kind of like there's no limit other than like really the only limit to what players can get away with in D&D is the limit of the patience of the DM. As long as you don't bother the DM too much with whatever shenanigans you're trying to do, you can do anything. I mean, if you piss off the DM, then heaven help you, but you know, that's just kind of how it goes. Am I a writer by trade? Not really. But I am someone who loves getting into details about a lot of stuff. And I will say I do have rough plans to eventually, like this campaign, once it's done, I do have plans to like kind of edit and format it so that I can release it on like DriveThruRPG. So I'm trying to create this with enough detail that someone who has not been here and been thinking about it can have a complete campaign. And I even do that for myself. For most of my campaigns, I plan way ahead and do a lot of detail like this. Because the thing for me, and this is my style of DMing, and there's no right or wrong about this, it's just my style. So, you know, a couple dozen grains of salt when I say this about my approach to DMing, because if this isn't how you DM, then don't try to emulate me per se. But for me, when I'm DMing, I like to present my players with an existing story and an existing challenge and an existing world that they can interact with. There are a lot of people who their approach to DMing is like, here's a bad guy, and then just kind of like week by week go about doing it, and that's perfectly legitimate. But I can't write that way. Like, that's just not how my brain works as a DM or anything else like that. Like, I was a world builder as a hobby. I was a world builder long before I was a DM. So for me, my approach to DMing is, here is a rich world with a lot of stuff going on. Like, your goal intersects with these other things that are happening. And the challenge is for you to navigate this existing world and figure out how to interact with it while trying to achieve whatever your primary goal is, right? So like in this campaign, the primary goal is that they're trying to find these keys that a dragon is after in exchange for letting them operate within the dragon's territory, right? Because they're trying to build a trade route essentially through this dragon's territory, and the dragon's like, no, I don't want you to do that. And so they cut a deal with the dragon. Like, that's how this whole thing opens up, is there's a deal cut with this dragon that's like, if you can find these 4 keys so the dragon can have access to this one place that it's been wanting to get to for a long time, then he will let you build your trade route. And so our players are basically just encountering a world filled with dangers, filled with all kinds of things going on as they're trying to, you know, find these keys that they're looking for. And so a lot of this prep kind of comes in from the idea that our players are just interlopers in an existing functioning world. And that's just my approach to things, right? Like, that's how I like to do things. That's how I find it easiest to build a world that's enriching and encapsulating for players. Encapsulating is the right word. There's a word. I'm not going to sit here and try and remember a single word for 5 minutes. But for a world that is really, really interesting for players to be in, and I find one of the best ways to create an interesting world is essentially to create a world that does not revolve around the players. And I find it really hard to do that if the way I write is always in reaction to what players are doing. Certainly I'll change and modify things from week to week in order to respond to what players are doing. But as far as the mission goes and all that kind of stuff, I present to players like, here's what I have an idea, here's what my idea is for the campaign. Do you guys like the idea of that story? And as long as they say, yeah, that sounds cool, then it's like, okay, we've got our campaign. So that's what that's what my approach is, and it's a very modular approach to things, right? Very, very much like how a pre-made module for 5e or whatever goes, where it's like, here's like we've got the premise and all of that figured out, and you guys know that you are trying to accomplish things within the scope and within the confines of that pre-written story. And so, yeah, exactly. It's like I find that my players really like when they're trying to go about things and then suddenly they find themselves in the middle of something. And I think what makes it such an interesting approach to things too is it really it doesn't provide. So a lot of people assume that like when players have free agency and choice, that means they can go in any direction. But I also find, and that's true, but I also find that a really important way for players to have choice is for them to decide how to respond to things that are happening, right? And so like I present them, so like we're presenting them with this scenario that is occurring. And the player's choice at that point is, do you engage with what's happening in this forest, or do you just try to sneak out and get out of here and call it good? And it's 100% up to the players, right? They may do it one way or another, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't really care. The interesting thing is them making that decision, the reasons why they make that decision, and then what are the consequences for that decision, right? So if they don't end up participating in this hunt for King Kong, essentially, like, that's fine. But maybe there will be other things that happen later on in the campaign where it's like, oh, if they didn't do this, King Kong is still active in this forest, so if they ever go back, they have to contend with that, right? Things like that. So that's always my approach to things, and that's why there's a lot of work up front, because I'm essentially, my approach to DMing is essentially to create a module, like if I were to go out and buy, you know, Horde of the Dragon Queen or whatever, right? Like if I were, I like to write my stuff in that approach, in that style. And that's just my style. That's my approach to it. So like I say, there's nothing right or wrong about it. So, you know, a few dozen grains of salt about whether or not you agree with or adopt my style to things. But that's how I go about it. And that's why there is a lot of this like work up front that I put into my campaigns, because for me, the way I run games and the way I'm good at running games, the way that I'm able to create a compelling game is through this method. And so, you know, I don't know, thanks for coming to my TED Talk, I guess. But yeah, that's why I put all this effort in. And the other thing is too, like I say, long before I ever got into D&D, I was a world builder as a hobby. Like I've got a sci-fi universe that I will occasionally just sit down and write things for, not even really thinking about writing a game. So for me, the hobby is creating this world. And as far as being a DM goes, I just sort of throw in a couple stat blocks and call it a day, right? Because I'm already interested in creating this world. And so you just put some stat blocks in there for players to interact with stuff. And then it's like, hey, you know, there we go. We've got a game out of it now. And so that's a lot of why I write this way, is because my influence is coming from, since high school, I just was fascinated with the concept of through writing, you know, through words, creating a living world that is interesting and fun to explore. So that's a lot of where my approach comes from as well. Like I was watching my sister play Myst before I ever knew Dungeons and Dragons was a thing, and I found Myst to just be so fascinating. Like the idea that you could fall into a book and there was a world to interact with and do stuff with was just like, I loved that. I loved that idea. Still do. I'll still play Myst from time to time and just be fascinated and just be absolutely enraptured with the idea that like there was an existing society within this book, but then because of the way things are written and the way people interacted with a book, like it caused an existing society to go extinct, right? Like that just fascinates me, just the concept behind it, which is a lot of where my love of D&D and my love of DMing and my approach to DMing comes from. You know, I'm basically, again, I steal everything. And you just change details. So ultimately, if we go back to Origins, nothing that I do is an original thought. All of it stems from Myst. That's, you know, what can I say? All right. Anyways. So this area here. We'll say as you approach this clearing, you can see what appears to be a small group of the large apes that seem to hold dominion over these woods. They are lounging calmly, almost seeming to bask, as though how do I want to describe this? Because I'm imagining when this happens, I guess it'll be kind of dependent on how our players go through things, but I'm imagining they're stuck in these forests, in these woods at night. But then again, knowing my players and knowing most players, they would probably wait till the middle of the day to do stuff. So I guess I shouldn't really be thinking about it at night, because let's be real, they're gonna wait till daytime so they can do stuff that way. Let's see. So they are lounging calmly, seeming to bask in the we'll just say in the open air, and the light shining through the space between the trees above. Do it kind of like that, shining through the space between the trees above. They seem quite content. And despite their size, almost peaceful. Almost peaceful, as though you haven't had to fight to survive encounters with their fellow apes elsewhere in these woods. Just kind of offer that little bit of detail, because at this point in time, I mean, when we look at our map, our players started off up here, and in this first room there's a bunch of apes for them to deal with. So like, they've definitely had encounters with apes, and definitely, well, I guess I shouldn't say definitely, depending on, like, I mean, you know, never say never. A really good animal handling check, maybe they are managed to handle some stuff, but most likely they'll have had some sort of violent encounter with some of these apes so far. They're not intended to be friendly, cuddly apes, that's for sure. So we'll just kind of do that. And now for the lore here. So, not the loaf, the lore. So here's what I have in mind for this. Oh my gosh, I've got a loose mustache hair that's tickling my nose and it's driving me insane right now. Okay, I think I'm good. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, it's the most annoying thing. It's the most annoying thing because every time you talk, it like tickles your nose. Like, God. Alright, sorry, lore. I'm not even going to require a roll for this one. I think it'd just be really interesting to present this to players and just let them kind of encounter this, because this is the first time they'll have encountered something like this, and it's pretty specific to my homebrew world. So for the sake of like releasing this, I'd probably have to change this a little bit, or just flat out remove it and just instead put a placeholder of like suggestions of like, just put some sort of interesting thing about the history of the forest within the context of your world or whatever. But what we'll say here is, what I want to do is, at the southern edge of this clearing, there is a very strange sight. How do I want to describe this? As you look, there is a strange sort of mirage in which the trunks of the trees don't seem to align with the canopies above. As you approach, because I'm assuming they'll want to go check it out, because let's be real, players they're like lemmings, right? They're just like, oh, that's curious, and then they'll all follow each other and they'll all go every time. Like, it's one of my favorite things about DMing in general, is the fact that like, as long as you're attentive, you can really pick up on patterns for just about any group. And like, and I know this sounds like so I know this sounds like so it's almost derogatory towards players, but like, it's not meant to be. It's so true. Players are so predictable. Like, it's so easy to predict what humans are going to do when presented with certain things, right? Like, it's so easy, and it's so easy to use, like, breadcrumbs to manipulate them into encountering things. Like, it's so easy to do that. Granted, they'll change. Like, they'll probably do it in a different way than what you imagine, but, like, it's so easy to get them to explore something, right? Like, it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to get them to fight something. It's so easy to, like force players to do something without ever requiring a single thing. All you got to do is just use proper psychology, and like I say, just like sprinkle those breadcrumbs in the direction you want them to go. And it's so much fun, and I love doing it. And like, I know that sounds so adversarial. It sounds like I have so much disrespect for players, but like, I don't mean that at all, because the fact is, I'm the same way when I'm a player, right? I have a game that I'm a player in, and it's so easy to get me to want to do something. All you have to do is like, hey, danger/interesting thing is over here, and as a player, I'm immediately like, well, let's go over there. That sounds rad, you know? And it's like, it's so easy. It's so easy, and I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, exactly. Big thing. Go look. You've got that exactly right. Like, it's so like it. And the other thing too is, like, it's so easy to manipulate players into attacking and killing someone, because every group of players, I don't care what they say they're going to play like. I don't care who they are. I don't care what their ultimate goals are. Every group of players at some point in time in a campaign will eventually make the switch over to murder hobos, and they will eventually learn that they can functionally just kill everything as a solution to most situations. Even when there's consequences, they'll eventually pick up on the fact, like, it's a game. It's a game that we're all playing together. And so if we don't want the game to actually be over, it's not like we're going to get a game over state. We'll just adjust and we'll go for it. So we can kill anything. And they will. And they will. And it's hilarious. I love it. It cracks me up so much. But anyway, that's a tangent. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. As you approach, you can feel a strange energy coming from this strange sight. Almost as though a strong wind was being sucked into this strange space, though the air around you is perfectly still. And then what I want to do, I think what I want to do is, we'll add another bullet, and I'm not going to put a DM note about it. Well, I am going to put a DM, but we're not going to, like, put any rolls or anything. We're not going to block this off by rolls. We're just going to say if they take a closer look or even step through. See, now here's where there's a little bit of risk involved. If they want to abandon everything and explore a different realm, then we might, I might have to really improv and yes and my way through some things here. But I'm willing to take that chance, because I think we can describe it differently and make it really interesting. As you peer through this opening, you find yourself, or we'll say selves, looking at an entirely different forest. The trees are thicker, and the canopies are blocking out any light that might otherwise come from above. If you thought that these woods, well, actually we'll say if you thought that the woods you've been exploring were foreboding, they now seem downright inviting. compared to this place. And then I guess here's what I'll do. We'll just say DC. I want to do DC 14 here just because I want it to be a bit more challenging. Not because there's anything that requires special skill, but because this is something that the players will unlikely have encountered at all. So like I want their players to just not have much context for what they're looking at here, right? And so it's like this isn't something that you can gain from book knowledge. This is just something that you have to experience. That like everyone knows that, because this is a rip between realms. This is a rip between realms that everyone knows exists within this world. Like it's a well understood thing that this exists in the world. But people have survived in this world by avoiding these things. And so this is not something that is anywhere near where an existing civilization is, right? They've been able to exist by being away from these. Everyone understands that there's a lot of danger involved in these, because this magical radiation that comes from these rips are what causes all these monstrosities to exist, like giant King Kong-sized apes and stuff like that, right? So it's like there's no context for players to understand this. So, and I don't care what they roll to try and understand that. If it's history, if it's arcana, whatever, I don't care. I just want to make sure that this is something that is as confusing for their players as possible, while still being something that, like, if there's one who's particularly astute at that moment, right, with a good roll, they can be like, oh, I know exactly what we're looking at. And then give them sort of the context of like, oh, this is dangerous. Like, this is like being next to the elephant's foot, you know, in Chernobyl, right? Like that's what this is the concept here. Maybe not quite that immediately detrimental, but you understand what I'm saying. So we'll say DC 14 to, DC 14 to understand what they are looking at. And then we'll go ahead and say, suddenly it occurs to you what you are seeing. This is a rip between realms. This is a rip between realms. Something that from birth you've known to be a source of dangers of all sorts, be it the influences of uncontrolled magic or the wanderings of creatures between worlds they don't belong in. Suddenly, the magical nature of the apes of this forest makes a lot more sense. Boom. And we'll just offer that up there. And like I say, it's like, functionally speaking, this is kind of inconsequential. There's not a whole lot of like function for players to gain from this. But sometimes it can be really valuable to the immersion of a game to just offer them these kinds of details, to just describe these things. And maybe players will make a side mission out of it. Like, the thing about this is maybe players will see this and be like, is there something we can do to close this? And me, being a DM that loves to endorse and encourage creativity and wonderment to my players, my reaction will probably be like, my reaction will kind of go along the lines of being like, yeah, why don't you roll Arcana to see if you know, and then just like kind of improv and yes and my way through that. If they wanted to try and find a way to close it and they've got a magic user, it's like, yeah, we'll let them roll Arcana and like assume it has to be like a 15 or higher or something like that. And then if they get an 18, it'd be like, you feel like you remember something about a ritual that can be done for this, you know, and I'll just kind of like off the cuff be like, it would require this, that, and the other thing. And if they wanted to pursue that, then it turns into like a side mission of them like either harvesting stuff within the forest or traveling to a city to get supplies and then coming back or something like that. It's like you can, you know, that's the way to turn this very, very pre-organized style of campaign that I like to write into a sandboxy open world type of thing. You just give them stuff that exists without explicitly, or at least without always explicitly describing the singular path to solving said problem or interacting with said thing, right? You just present problems, not solutions, right? You present problems and let the players figure out what the solution to that problem is. And you just be willing to be like, yeah, that works. I mean, there'll be some times when maybe it'll sometimes it'll be you have to kind of rein them in and you can't necessarily allow everything. But it's an option. It's an option. Yeah, I know the bots are kind of tricky. The bots with Pretzel, it has to. Otherwise, I have to pay money, and I don't have money to do that. But I like there to be music in the background. I could probably find some other source of music, but I know with Pretzel, it's gonna be I'm not gonna get copyright struck. So that one's just kind of as it is. And as far as the Nightbot stuff goes, that one's a really tricky one. Because when chat is active, it's fine. And for most every other thing, it's great, except that Pretzel triggers the Nightbot things. So Nightbot kind of keeps going with its stuff. So I don't know. I haven't found a great solution. I'm always working on it. I will take the tip under advisement, because I agree it does kind of get a little oppressive, but it's been hard to, without having to reprogram Nightbot every single stream, bouncing between the gaming and the writing streams that I do. It's been hard to find a good balance for it. And yeah, with the Pretzel ones, that's just that's how I'm able to provide music. So it's not just silence and my voice, which I find to be a better balance. But yeah, I don't know. It's imperfect. My apologies. But yeah, so I think that's a good way to get this room designed here. And so now I'm going to go ahead and throw in just a few details here. Again, this one doesn't need a whole lot. We can try and do... Oh, I think if we do our magic thing here, I think we can okay, so that's flames, but I'm wondering if we could change the color of this to just make it look a bit more magical or something, and kind of give the sense of, oh, here we go, like a standing portal or something like that. Yeah. So it's a little more rigid than I intend for it to be, but it would get the job done. I kind of like this one. I wonder if we can change the color of this. I think we can change the color of that. And if we just make it, if we just make it blue, we just kind of plop that down right. I wonder if it actually, oh wait, check this out. Let's make this a brighter blue. Hold on. Let's make this stand out a little bit more. A brighter blue. I think we can do even brighter here. I want to go with a nice, bright, magical... Whoops, nope. Go back to our blue here. I think if we make this a nice, bright, magical blue, maybe a bit more on the teal scale. And then accept that. Yeah, there we go. If we do that to imply the magic, and then put the little bloop right there. There we go, and that hides the statue part of it, so it's just there's a portal or something that exists there. I think that'll work. That's a decent hot wire there. We can get that going just like that. And then let's go ahead and just find some of our bushes that we've zoomed my head. Now everything's gonna be blue. I was gonna try and make everything blue, but maybe it's fine sometimes. But let's see. I want to just throw in a couple bushes again, just to make things a little more interesting. Just kind of randomly scrabble those about. It doesn't really matter. Fill in that little spot a little bit more there. There we go. There we go. That looks fine. That adds a little bit of interest to it there, and we can just have a couple apes there. And my idea too is and this will just be a little detail, a little dot that maybe our players will connect regarding the describing the apes as basking. My thought is that they bask in the radiation from this portal, and they enjoy just laying there, letting the magic sort of wash over them, and be sort of something that they are influenced by choice, is sort of what my thought is there. So we can just kind of have that implication be there. So let's go ahead and go bloop, and bloop, 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 and bloop, just to offer a little bit of lighting. Like I say, it's not actually a in-lore thing for there to be torches and stuff everywhere, but it would make sense. It would make sense for there to be some sort of lighting, and that's the most thematic approach to putting lighting in there. Oh, I like that idea. I like that idea. Like a god, like a god of wayward explorers. That like all they do is they just kind of like walk in front of, like all they their purpose is to walk in front of lost travelers and provide torches. That would be really funny. It'd be really interesting, and it'd be like really funny how different cultures interpret this god. Like some might see it as helpful, and others might, like if you have like a really stubborn adversarial culture or something like that, they would see that as like a spirit trying to lead you astray or something like that. Like, don't follow the lights through the woods. It's the evil spirits trying to trick you, or something like that. And it's like this guy's just like, oh, I'm just trying to help. I actually really like that idea. That's an interesting one. That's a really interesting idea. I like that a lot. That's clever. That's really clever. Okay. I'm gonna level with you guys. I have to go to the bathroom really bad, and that's not something that I really want to do on stream. I say the joke all the time because it amuses me and I think it's funny. I gotta get paid a lot more during my streams to go ahead and pee on screen for you guys. So I'm gonna take just like 1 minute, maybe not even that, and I'm gonna run to the bathroom, and then we'll be right back, and we'll be right back picking things up. I'm not even gonna change the screen. I'm just gonna mute my mic and let you guys sit here and chill with some music for just a minute. But I'm not gonna pee on stream. I'm not doing that. This isn't the right avenue for that. That's a different streaming site, and I'm not there. I'm not there. So yeah, exactly. You can admire my chair. Maybe if you're lucky, my cat will come up on the desk and be curious about stuff. Probably not, but maybe. So, all right, I'm gonna be right back. I swear I'll be back very shortly. So I appreciate your patience. Alrighty, thank you so much for your patience. I appreciate it. My bladder appreciates it. It's you know, sometimes nature comes calling and you can either answer or wait till she busts down the door, but either way, stuff's gonna happen, so you might as well just work with it. So chair auto justifies to the left. Yeah, thank you. That is brought to you by uneven old apartment building floors. For all of your spinal crookedness needs. I mean, my apartment's pretty nice, all things considered, but you know, it's an apartment. It's an old building. It was built many, many decades ago. It does definitely. The chair definitely spins in accordance with where the slight level distributions are. Cracks me up. Yep. Uneven wooden floors with bowing. Yep. Ours, mine has carpet over it, but I'm on the 3rd floor, so like I've got an entire building's worth of like settling and different beams leveling at different levels to contend with. So, all right, let's see here. Okay, so I've been doing a bad job of keeping up to pace here, so I'm gonna do my best to really power through all of these rooms here because I wanna finish this. And if I'm following my own schedule, I've only got like 40 minutes left to finish 3 rooms, which is not a lot of time. But if anything, I'm definitely going to run over my usual schedule, and we'll just have a little less video game streaming time today because damn it, I want to finish this today. I'm so excited. I woke up this morning. I was like, I'm so excited. I'm going to finish Chapter 5 today. It's going to be freaking awesome. And then on Friday, when we do more campaign, we can start Chapter 6. It's going to be great. And here I am still talking about things and not writing because I have problems. Okay, boss battle is going to be worth 3,600 experience points. 3,600 XP. Yeah, that's right, exactly. Dying, more dying, and then if you manage to not die through the dying, then you get money. Hooray! And game. Oh boy. Okay, so the boss battle. So I had half a mind. So here's the debate that I've kind of been having, and I still have been having with myself. But I think I'm going to. I think I'm going to. Well, I know I'm going to make a decision about it, but I think I know what the decision is going to be. So the debate I've been having is, do I, because the whole concept behind this King Kong hunt is that there are ogres at war with King Kong and his whole ape collective here, right? And so like my thought was it would be kind of fun if the boss battle was like players go in and it's apes versus ogres, right? And like they can like participate in that battle. But the thing is for the boss battle, I don't want my players to get an easy way out. Like, if they decide they want to participate in this thing, I don't want them to have the easy way out of being able to, like, just let NPCs do half the work for them. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have it be our giant ape, and then however much room we have left for these regular apes, which I think... So if we're going with 3,600 experience points worth of battle, the giant ape is worth 2,900. If we give another 2,900 or another 900 with 2 of these apes, that brings us up to 38, which is a little over, but it's a boss battle, so players can just cry about it. So I think that's what we're gonna do for this one. So 1x, one giant ape, and he is worth our 2,900 experience points. I always put the amount that each individual is worth as well as the collective amount of experience points. So that way, if we ever have a situation where like some of them run away or players decide to keep some alive for this, that, or the other reason, then it's easier to do the math on breaking down how much they do. Although usually, like as long as they don't run away, like if they still neutralize and keep them alive for questioning or something like that, I'll still give them the experience points because it's like you still defeated that enemy. If they run away, that doesn't really count unless I have a reason to say like, oh yeah, you driven them away for good, they'll never come back. Then it's like that counts, but it's more of a role-playing situation. But anyway, that's why I do it this way. And then again, we'll just go ahead, copy and paste, just to save ourselves like 12 seconds. Boom, there we go. Okay, so here's how I kind of want to do this. I want to make it pretty easy for them. DC 12 to sneak into this clearing. And because I want to give them the opportunity against King Kong to sort of be able to kind of open things up with a bang if they want. But we'll say DC 12 to sneak into this clearing. And so we'll describe, as you walk into this clearing, a strong stench of unclean beast fills the air around you. Looking around, you see on the ground a massive nest of grasses, sticks, and leaves, making a let's see here, See on the ground. Looking around, you see on the ground a massive, not next, nest. Making a well, no, we're just gonna leave it like this. It seems as, oops, that's the wrong kind of seems. It seems as though this entire area is serving as a bed of sorts for the apes you've been seeing all the while. Well, no, that's not right phrasing. You've been seeing as you trek through these woods. As if exemplifying this point, you can see lounging in the center of the clearing, an ape larger than even stories told to children would describe. You suspect that if it stood, its height would rival the height, there we go, the height of the oldest trees in these woods around you. One hand seems to be big enough to hold at least two of you at once. This is this is truly the king of these forests, and he goes by the name of Kong. No, we're not gonna take it. We're not gonna make it that obvious, right? We want to, like I say, it's an homage. It's not a flat out rip off. There's a difference. There's a difference, and I'm classy enough to recognize that difference. So stupid. All right. Yeah. No, I think that's great. I think that's great, and we don't even hardly need to do anything else. I don't think we really even need to do a whole lot else for it. For description, because then it just turns into, then it's just like, you know, then it's like Mortal Kombat, just ready, fight, and we can just let them go nuts, and they can have all kinds of fun with that. Great. So we do that, and now let's do the potions. So I always, because I have the tendency to, once players kind of enter a chapter, like the idea is like their time to be around the cities is in between chapters, so to speak, and then once they're in the thick of a chapter, like they don't have really a whole lot of time to go back to cities, and I sort of use that as a vehicle to limit how many long rests they can take, because I don't like players being able to just say like, okay, yep, we killed something, let's long rest so we can get all of our spell checks and stuff back. So the way I do it is like not hyper detailed in the sense of like having people keep inventory per se, but the way I run my games is, generally speaking, it's like, okay, you guys can carry so many number of days of rations and stuff with you, and if you exceed those days, you either are going to start taking exhaustion, or you need to find some way to resupply, whether it's leaving and then coming back, or going about and hunting if the environment allows for it. You guys have to figure something out that way. And in doing so, I basically limit the number of long rests that they can take during a session, which then limits, you know, that will naturally limit how many times and stuff they can heal. So I always make sure to, within these dungeons, provide a certain number of instances where they can find potions. And it's a little game mechanic-y. It can get kind of tricky to offer up a believable reason in lore for there to be these potions there. It's a little game mechanic-y. But we are also playing a game, so who cares? And that way it can sort of be like, in exchange for the fact that I'm a little strict on that, here are some fun things to do. Plus, some of them will be healing potions, and some of them will just be like fun potions for them to use and play with. And we've already kind of done some potions in this floor, and I'm going to keep the same basic distribution of them, and I think it's going to be really fun. So what I'm going to do is, we'll just say, scattered around the giant ape bedding are the remnants of various travelers and explorers who had the misfortune of encountering these beasts. We'll say, along with the skeletons scattered around. There are various packs. Most do not seem to have contents that haven't been scattered to the winds by these apes. However, one does seem to have some potions in it. And I'm actually going to put a DM note here, and I'm going to do something a little unique with this. We're going to say DC 11 to find when not in combat. And we'll say, well, so like here's the thing that I got to think about here. See, when not in combat, we'll say, if in combat and land on the space with the pouch, we'll do passive perception 12 or better, which they should all be up there unless there's something weird going on with a certain player, depending on there's a million infinite things that we could have yes-anded to lower someone's passive perception, including a lot of times I'll play games where instead of permanent death, there's just permanent injury, so players don't have to worry about like a character dying. And so it's like if they lose an eye or something like that, that might impact passive perception and lower it. But basically, it's like if they're on that, they can notice it. Better to we'll say to notice at their feet. And so that way we can have the chance for them to find these potions and stuff in the middle of battle, which I think would be an interesting thing. It would just be kind of interesting to see if that would like sort of like change the tide of battle. Like if they're struggling for a little bit, but then they end up they end up having finding that could change the course of how things are going. And I think that'd be really cool. Uh-oh, I'm dropping frames. Hold on a second. Oh man, I'm definitely dropping frames. Hopefully things are still coming across smoothly. Looks like we're good now. Alright, sorry, I just noticed that. Normally I would do something about it, but it might require me to reset my internet, and at this point in time I don't want to do that so close to the end of the stream. So we're just going to cross our fingers that it figures out what's going on. I don't know. We'll see. I think it's my VPN. My VPN has been very touchy about that lately. And it's frustrating because it's been not an issue for quite some time until now, but now it's like suddenly like, oh no, we're gonna be a little buttheads about it, which is great. So within this potion bag, we're just gonna pull up here, go with our magic items, and I tend to just stick with unless I have a specific reason to invent a potion, I tend to stick with what we've done or stick with what's been made just for the sake of time and ease. But what I want to do is, where is it? Yeah, this one right here. Potion of Growth. We're going to do mostly potions of health, but we're going to throw in a couple potions of growth. We're going to do 3 potion of greater healing, because they are level 5, so we can give them a little extra. And I want to give them 2 potion of growth. And the reason that I want to do this, the reason I'm doing the potions of growth, I will make no secret about this. The reason I'm going with potion of growth is because my hope is that any players in the middle of this battle with King Kong will drink the potion of growth and get in a fist fight with King Kong while being King Kong sized. Because I think that would be hilarious if they just like go like full blown, you know, like Pacific Rim kaiju battle and just make themselves giant so that they can get in a fist fight and like kick King Kong in the balls or something. Like, I think that would be absolutely hilarious. And I'm doing everything I can to provide them the opportunities to do exactly that. Because my God, like, tell me that wouldn't be amazing. Tell me that wouldn't be amazing. I mean, come on, man. That would just be a beautiful turn of events. Absolutely beautiful. So we're gonna do that, and just pray to God that they take the bait and do it. Not because it's the best way, not because it's the quote-unquote right way, but because it's the way that I want to see it happen. As a DM, sometimes you have to manufacture your fun, considering that as a DM, your role in these games is essentially to lose for the amusement of your players. Like, your job is to lose. That's what you do as a DM. You lose. And so the best you can do sometimes is to just like manufacture your own fun. I'm going to save myself a little bit of time for this betting, and rather than like trying to like scatter around different things, I'm just going to like just make the terrain this grass to make it look like they've got like a big bed of like dead leaves and sticks and stuff. And we'll just like maybe like just do a couple little patches of stuff that's like sticking around like as dirt and things like that. So it just kind of looks there. Like that kind of does what we're trying to do with it. That invokes the look we're looking for. The look we're looking for? Yeah, why not? Why not? We can use the word look multiple times for in different ways in a single sentence. Why not? Great. All right, and so there's our boss battle. And so there's a lot more complexity that goes into designing a boss battle. You can't necessarily just be like, oh yeah, you find the boss and here's the stuff. But we have already, as sort of the foundational stuff, we've already sort of set aside, right, here's our boss, and we've already put down some baseline stuff about how the boss will fight, what the fight will be out. And I like this one. We'll spend the first half of HP up in the trees throwing rocks at players, right? So it'll like be up there trying to throw rocks and everything because it's got its rock option. So we'll just do that. But then if knocked out of trees or brought below 50%, become enraged and just try to punch the crap out of everyone. Which I think both of those just sound like hilarious battles. It's the other motivation for having this battle exist within this campaign that doesn't, or within this set of rooms and stuff that just doesn't really make sense, is because I just think it would be really funny. I just think this whole battle sounds so funny and so amusing. And like I say, as a DM, sometimes you have to make your own fun. And I'm not above inserting things that I think will be funny. So yeah, I think it'd be hilarious for our players to get into a fist fight with King Kong after he's spent, you know, the first half of the battle just like hiding in the trees and throwing rocks or maybe some poop at them. Like, I just think that'd be really funny. So sorry players, if you wanted something specific all the way or something sophisticated all the way through, too bad. I'm giving you a monkey that throws rocks. Deal with it. I'm sorry. An ape. They're different things. All right. Let's see. So medium battle. So we've only got 2 more rooms left, and we got 20 minutes to do it. I think we can do it. I think I can do it. I just gotta not get too caught in the weeds of describing too many things, which is like also kind of a bad idea because this is meant to be kind of like a stream in which I explain my process, and that's like why people like it. But I don't know, man. We'll find the balance and we'll get it done. Medium battle. Okay, what did we do? Okay, we've got 1800. Screw it. There's gonna be 9. There's gonna be 9 of these. Oh wait, here we go. The medium battle is 1800. We're gonna do 1 of the ogre battering rams, and we'll do 3 half ogres, and we'll just be like they're staging to try and like go fight King Kong or something. I don't know. Why not? We can do whatever we want. 1x ogre battering ram worth 1100 XP, and then 3x half ogres worth 200 apiece. So it'll actually be worth 1900, but that's no, that's at 1700. Let's give them 4 and make it 1900. Make that one a little bit more difficult rather than a little less difficult. So we'll do that for them. So we'll say let's give just a little DC check here. DC 12 to sneak up because they are distracted but alert. I'll just do that. I'm going to do my best to not let the quality dip too far in this while I'm trying to get it done. But gosh darn it, I want to get this done, man. I'm so excited to have this part of it done. All right. As you approach this particular clearing, you see what appears to be a collective of ogres staging themselves for some sort of attack. They seem to be drilling some sort of maneuver. Maneuver. There it is. Maneuver. Though to be honest, they don't seem to be particularly skilled tacticians. Tacticians, there it is. And skilled skilled tacticians. Maui. This is how you can tell it's getting towards the end of the stream. I can't type anything anymore. Particularly skilled tacticians based on what you can see. We'll just do that. We'll just do that, and that's good enough there. And so then enchantment. So this is, I don't have time to go into a really long description of it. The short of it is, I have a homebrew rule system that I use for my players where I let them enchant their own weapons rather than just always finding magical items and stuff like that. Makes it easier for them to have fun, unique weapons earlier on, because you can just give them like a cantrip enchantment, which are like very low power but can do kind of cool, interesting things, and let them have an item that does things, especially for someone who doesn't have cantrips themselves. So it's a homebrew system, and I actually talk a lot more about my homebrew systems and the stuff that I do on my Thursday stream. So if you're curious about that, you should stop by on Thursday, and we can talk about that kind of stuff. But the short of it is, I've been giving them the resources to eventually kind of either create their own enchanted weapon or use parts of it for crafting however they see fit. And so what we'll go ahead and do here is we'll say, the only thing left, I've been basically giving them all of the resources to make a really cool enchanted warhammer, because it's like an old dwarven area, so it's like, hey, that makes sense, right? And so the last thing was I was going to give to them some particularly powerful or some particularly nice wood to make the handle of the hammer based on the blueprints that they find throughout it to make this item. So what we'll say actually is we'll say, we'll just go with enchantment component, and what we're gonna do is we'll say we'll do DC 14 to notice this, and we'll just, because it's gonna be kind of a specific thing, DC 14 to notice this. As you are examining the remnants of the battering ram, you notice that parts of it seem to be made from particularly strong wood that seems to be ironwood. This would be extremely valuable for crafting or selling. As we'll say, we'll actually just say, this would be, so oops, this would be extremely valuable for crafting or selling, and we'll just leave it at that. A little scant on the description there, but it doesn't need a whole lot. But that's something that's been building up, and so it's like we can just kind of provide that for them, and they'll find that interesting, and it'll be great. And that gives us 15 minutes to finish this last room, which I think is going to be much trickier to do quickly, because we're trying to we're going to be trying to invent a trap for this room, which actually I kind of have an idea that I think would be really funny, but it's going to take a little bit of massaging to get it right and have it make sense and be functional. So trap here. So what my thought is is, oh wait, hold on. We do need to just offer up. Let's quickly just throw in, let's see, here's our battering ram. And we had to make that like really small for it to scale kind of right, because it makes it scale pretty big. I think we did about half size. Yeah, half size was good. So we'll put like the battering ram just like right there. And then, I don't know, we'll just put a couple bushes because that makes things more interesting. And then get our lights going. And just to, let's see, we'll do normal size for the lights here. And now just for the sake of timeliness, since we're already working on it, let's go ahead and give our lights here. Let's get our light tool going. Pew, 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 pew. Doom, 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 doom. Perfect. Okay. So, and actually, now that I'm here, I'm remembering exactly what I want to do for the trap for this. This will actually be pretty quick and easy to handle. Oops, that's the wrong tab. I need this one open here. So trap. So what we're gonna do is, as you enter this clearing, you immediately see that your trek through the woods has finally come to an end. Before you sits the sheer cliff side of the mountain you started in, and on that cliff face is a door. It appears that you have found another way back into the city of Kagdaral. Oh, that's not how he's been spelling Kagdaral. What if it'll auto spell it for me? Yeah, there it goes. Haha, I've used it enough. It's one thing I really like about the way they've got OneNote programmed these days. If you use a word consistently enough, it will add it to the dictionary for you, so you can make up your own titles and names and stuff like that, and eventually it'll start recognizing it and helping you use it properly, which is awesome. It's so helpful to do that. In the city of Kagdaral. And now I'm going to offer up here. Let's do. Oops, I want to do this here. DC. I'm gonna say DC 14 to notice that the door is trapped. DC 14 to notice that the door is trapped, and then we'll say DC 14 to try and disarm it, however they see fit. And I'm just gonna make this really standard. I'm gonna make this like a really basic trap. And we're going to say, and we'll just actually make this a DM note, and we'll just say, if they fail to spot or disarm, they have to succeed at both. Otherwise, the trap will get triggered here. Boom. So we'll do that, and I'm just gonna make this like a pit trap. As you attempt to handle the door, and we'll just like make it generic like that, right? As you attempt to handle the door, you hear a series of clicks climb up the cliff face until they seem to move out of earshot. Suddenly, a rumbling from above pulls your attention up, where we'll say where you can see a series of boulders tumbling from the cliff above towards you. And so what I want to do here is, now we're going to say, just to make things kind of challenging, we'll say a DC 12 to avoid getting crushed. And then we'll say, I don't know, given the height of this, I'm just going to wing it. This will probably need a little massaging, but I don't know. I'm thinking something along the lines. Well, I wonder if they have like. I wonder if they have like rules for like boulders. Like, just try doing like boulders. See if they have like a boulder fall. Is that like a place or? Hollow ceiling, 60 feet, something down. The ceiling remains level. Distance from the floor. Yeah, that's just the hull. I was gonna try and see if they had something for just like falling rocks or something. Let's just try doing fall. Let's just try doing like fall damage here. Feather fall, slow fall, feather slow fall, stairs fall. Follow the thin. Oh, I know there are rules that exist. Let's see here. We'll say fall damage maybe. I want to try and keep some sort of falling. Here we go. Falling. A fall from great height is one. Yeah, so if it's 1d6 for every 10 feet it fell, maximum 20d6. I'm thinking 20 feet, but a handful of boulders. I was thinking about 4d6 damage for if they fail to dodge out of the way of the boulders. Because it's like kind of we're doing the opposite of fall. It's like the boulder falls on you rather than you fall on the boulder, but it functionally kind of ends up being the same. So they say 4d6 damage if fail to get out of the way. Boom, we'll do that. And I think that'll be just fine. And now what I'm going to do here, and so that's perfectly fine as it is. And now for the treasure. Oops, I need that to be in normal colored font. Treasure. Alright, and so what I want to do here is we're just going to say, this one's going to be pretty easy, but they will have to kind of pay attention. DC 11 to notice the body among the trees off to the side. And we'll say, and what we'll say is, off to the side, resting against one of the larger trees at the edge of this clearing, you can see the skeleton of what appears to be an individual the size of a dwarf. In their lap is a burlap sack filled with various treasures. Perhaps another burglar. Burglar? There. Perhaps another thief. Dang it! Can't spell anything. There we go. Perhaps another thief. God, that's embarrassing. That's immortalized on film forever. Great. Perhaps another thief like you who escaped the vaults but was unable to make it back through this door and perished and died. I don't have the brain power to try and figure out how I'm spelling things correctly or incorrectly anymore. Back through this door and died where it sit or where they sit. I don't know. There we go. Boom. We can do that, and then now we'll just give them some treasure to find, and we'll use for that one of my favorite tools ever. This loot gen, 5e.tools/loot gen. It's amazing. It'll automatically roll for you based on the tables that you can find in the Dungeon Master's Guide. It just makes things really easy. So Treasure Hoard will do 5 to 10 because of the challenge rating of the boss that they encounter here. So instead of lots of magical healing for each of these potions, I'm just gonna add more. I'm just gonna add more money because at this point in time, at the very end, they don't need those potions of healing. So we're just gonna add another, like, I don't know, with all this, we'll add another 500 gold to the gold hoard there. So we'll make it 5,300 gold essentially. That's in this satchel that they find. So we'll say 5309 GP if I'm remembering. Is that extra level 9 there? So we're gonna add that, and then for some 9 100 gold piece value gems, 9 100 GP gems, 900 GP total. And then for the most part, like my current players, they don't really care about itemizing gems, but I always, for a treasure hoard, will itemize it, just so that way if I ever run the same campaign for players that do want to itemize for the sake of magic and for the sake of selling and crafting and role-playing and all that kind of stuff, I'm prepared for it. But I recognize that it's not necessary for most games. But we've got 1 Jade, 1 Spinel, 4 Jet. So we'll do Jade, Spinel, 4 Jet. What else was there? 2 Chrysoberyl, and 1 Coral. We'll do Coral and then 2 Chrysoberyl. There we go. And with that, oh wait, hold on. Before I say anything more, hold on. We gotta go. I want to go. Where's skeleton? I just want to take a skeleton. It's like resting against the tree. We'll do that right there, and then we'll do. I'm just gonna search for a bag. Oh, let me try doing sack then instead. Yeah, there we go. That's what I wanted to do. And we'll put like the treasure sack like right there. So there's the treasure sack of the stuff they can find, and there it is. There it is. Holy crap! I think we're done with chapter 5. I think I actually did it. It was 2 minutes to spare. How about that? Look at me staying focused, getting stuff done. This isn't a collective effort. This is about me celebrating my own glorious accomplishments. Everyone praise me, worship me. No, I mean, okay, like in all seriousness, I'm really happy about this. I'm really happy that I did manage to make it through and finish chapter 5 here of this campaign. We've been working on chapter 5 in general for a long time, but like I say, the thing that's exciting about this is for a game that's going to basically have 10 chapters, granted, the chapters as you go deeper and further into the game get longer and more in depth because players are just higher level and they can handle more complexity and stuff like that. So in terms of actually functionally writing things, we're probably not quite halfway through, but just like academically, like conceptually, we're halfway through. We're halfway through, and that is a really exciting landmark for me because this is a big project. This is a big project with a lot of stuff to do for it. And I am just really tickled to be at the halfway point, and I'm really excited to be moving on to chapter 6. So this is really cool. I'm really happy about the progress we made today. Yeah, that feels really good. And it's like I say, it's just like it's the perfect timing. It really is perfect timing. We are now right exactly at 1:30. Well, local time 1:30. I don't know what hour 30 it is for you guys, but it's 1:30 here, which means that it's time for me to. I'm gonna take a bit of a break. I'm not done for the day, but I am gonna take a little bit of a break just to kind of rest my voice. And when I come back, I will be playing. I will be switching over to my video games, and we'll be playing Neverwinter Nights. We'll be continuing. So if you want to see me like playing D&D type of stuff, you should stick around. So thank you to everyone who stopped by. We had a good crowd today too, which is really exciting for me as I'm making progress and finishing this. Like I'm really happy about that. Let me just offer. You've probably been seeing the bots throw it in there, but for the sake of the VOD going to YouTube here, I'm just going to quickly share my social medias, and then I'll leave you guys with some music so you guys can chill here while I take that bit of a break, and then when I come back, we'll be doing some gaming. So stick around if you want to hang out and chat about games and other D&D type stuff. But yeah, if you are, let me go ahead and get us to our just chatting screen here. Whoosh. You can kind of see the links there below me now, but I do have social medias. You can find all of these on the About page of my Twitch stream, or if you're watching this VOD on YouTube, you can find all of these links down in the video description below. But I have a Discord server, so if you like to share, if you like to talk about D&D stuff, if you like to share stuff that you've worked on or see other stuff that other people are working on, we got a small community of a lot of people who are very creative and have a lot of really cool ideas, and it's really fun. So go ahead and get yourself hooked up with that Discord if you wanna have chats outside of the streams. I do my best to at least check in once a day to see what other stuff people are sharing, and it's a lot of fun. It's a really good time. I also use that. I will put announcements about when I'm going live, or if my streaming schedule has to change. So if you want to stay up to date on all that stuff, that's a really good place to go. The other one that I have is, well, I have a few others. I'm on Twitter. I'm really bad at using Twitter, but I'm trying to learn because I know that's just what people like to do nowadays. So you can find me on Twitter at EnviroStreams. Mostly I use it for announcing again when I'm going live or if there's changes to my stream, but I'm trying to learn how to just like generally interact with people through Twitter, and that's kind of a fun learning process. So if you want to see me fumble on trying to figure out what makes a good tweet, follow me there. I've got an Instagram as well, EnviroBoy Streams. You can find me on Instagram. That one, a lot of times during streams, I'll bring up some of the other stuff I do with my life. I'm a kickboxer. I do a lot of rock climbing. I have an adorable cat that only has one eye, which just multiplies her cuteness factor by so many magnitudes. So, but I use my Instagram to sort of share those types of things. So if you're curious about the other stuff I get up to, if you think it sounds neat and want to see some of the other stuff I do, follow me on Instagram. It's kind of a fun time. That one's been fun for me to learn how to use too. I'm just bad with social media. So if you want to just see some dude fumble and learn how to do all this stuff, if you think that stuff is kind of amusing, then hey, it's a great opportunity. I also have my YouTube channel, EnviroBoy. If it's easier for you to watch the VODs, I put all of them there on YouTube, so you can watch them on your time. And honestly, I'm just as flattered by people who watch VODs as people who show up live. So if you want to be able to see the VODs and watch them on your own convenient time, check me out on YouTube. I'm also, just generally speaking, having fun in my own time learning how to do video editing and stuff like that too. So I've got a couple of like video projects that I may one day actually end up finishing and having fun posting. So if you want to see what other goofy videos and stuff I come up with, then follow me, subscribe onto YouTube and check that out there. But that is also a resource that's available. And then the last thing there is I do sometimes get people asking, because I'm not an affiliate or anything, how they can donate to support me. Well, I've got a donation link. If you wanna make a donation, it is certainly always appreciated. It's definitely really helpful for me trying to learn. Like maybe eventually I can actually get a subscription to a music service, so that way I don't have to use the free one that the bot spams the chat. Things like that, it's like I would love to be able to provide that stuff, but honestly, the thing that's most helpful for me is just people coming in, hanging out, showing interest in what I do. Like, subscribe, follow, all that kind of stuff. Just, come on back at some point. Hang out for a little bit, watch for 20 minutes when I go live, whatever you got available. Like, honestly, that's the most helpful and exciting stuff for me right now, as I'm trying to sort of just learn how to do all this streaming, all this social media stuff, and just having a blast with it. Like, it's so much fun. And that just leads me into the last thing to say, which is I thank you so much to everyone who stopped by. I have so much fun doing this. Like, I really enjoy doing this. I do it all for free, and I'm just really fortunate I have the time and the ability to just kind of put these streams on, and I love doing it. And I'd love for it to grow, but honestly, I just have a blast with it as it is. So thank you to everyone who stopped by. Like I say, I will be back in like 15-20 minutes after I just rest my voice for a little bit, so we can keep doing some gaming. We'll be doing Neverwinter Nights. So hang out if you want to see that, or come back in like 20 minutes if you want to go off and see someone else, but then come back and see me play. I'll be playing for a couple hours. So we got that going on today. Otherwise, this week, my usual streaming schedule is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time is when I start my writing streams, and I stream a couple different topics throughout the week. You can see on my schedule what sort of general topic you can expect me to be working on any given day. And then at around 1:30 p.m., again, that's Eastern Time, is when I switch over to video games. And I play a variety of video games. Like today, it's going to be Neverwinter. Tomorrow, I'll be back to my run-through of all the Halo games. After that, I've got a new game that I'm planning on playing Thursdays. I've been doing No Man's Sky, but I'm going to try something different. I'm in the mood for something different. So we're going to be playing Star Wars: The Old Republic, seeing how I can handle with an MMORPG, which I haven't played any in maybe not decades. I'm not old enough for decades yet, but like at least years, maybe a decade since I've done an MMO. So that'll be fun. And then Fridays these days, I'm playing Planet Zoo, which if you want to see me just absolutely fangirl over cute animals, come check me out during Planet Zoo, because I just cannot control myself. I love that game so much. So that's what's coming up with the stream. So, if you can't hang around, or you don't feel like hanging around, but you want to check me out at other times, again, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 11:30 a.m. for writing, 1:30 p.m. for gaming. Come check me out at those times. Whenever the next time I see you, though, I appreciate you guys being here at all. Again, it's so much fun, and it's so flattering to me that people are interested in the stuff that I'm making. So thank you all. I am going to take that break like I keep saying I'm going to do. I'll leave you here with some music for a little bit. There will be a cut where I'll cut and switch over my scenes and everything and get everything switched over for the sake of the VODs and everything. So if it blips out for a minute or two, I'm not changing the schedule. I will be back. I just have to swap things over so that we can be ready for gaming. But yeah, in like, I don't know, about 15 minutes I'll be back, and I will see you guys then. So sit tight, enjoy some chill tunes, and I will see you very soon.